Hello and welcome to the show. Today is one of those out and about recordings as well, so expect to hear some noise in the background, cars driving by and people having conversations, stuff like that. Now, today, what we're going to be looking at is equity as a source of business financing. If this is your first time of listening to the show, don't worry, don't run away. The terms might sound very big, but the ideas behind them are very, very simple. And as we go on in the episode, teasing out what the main issues are, you see that it's quite easy to understand. But if this is your first time of listening to the show, I need to let you in on the context or the background. This is a series of conversations that we've been having over here concerning a real-life lady. We're going to call her Wonder Woman. That is not her real name. And I'm calling her Wonder Woman because, well, she's a wonderful lady. And she has wonderful aspirations, but I don't have permission to use her real name over here on the podcast. So we're going to be calling her Wonder Woman. And then I've also made a series of episodes before this. I'm not sure how many, but if you just skip back for like 1 week, you'll be able to get caught up to speed on all the things we've been talking about. So Wonder Woman is based in Makurdi, which is the capital of Benue State, and she's into all fine things, cuisine and catering. And she's a listener of the show, and the reason why both of us were having a conversation is because she's been hampered by a lack of finance when it comes to business growth and expansion. So she wants to grow, she wants to expand. There are some new things she wants to put on the menu, some cayenne peppered meats and things like that, which I think sound absolutely delicious. And because of that, I'm going to keep Wonder Woman's contact details so that the next time I'm in Makurdi, I'll come and taste some of that goodness. Now, so in her own opinion, the thing that is stopping her from expanding the business is lack of finance. And the whole point of the episodes that I've been making up to now is that it's not lack of finance that is killing her business or killing any other business for that matter, but it's a lack of sales skills, because you can use sales skills, to solve your financing problems. And so today's episode is a continuation of that whole gist, and that's the reason why we're looking at equity as a source of financing, because we've looked at how she can use sales skills to bootstrap the business. Bootstrap just means you raise the money from your savings, from whatever you can find in your pocket, your bank account, your bag, any which way that's bootstrapping. You're just launching the business from your savings. So I think we've done bootstrapping. I also think we've done, let me see what else. Revenue, trying to expand your revenue. And then when you get revenue, you now plow the money back into business. So we've looked at how she can acquire new customers, how she can get old customers to come back and buy again, how she can get old customers to spend more money each time that they come, and also how we can get old customers and new customers to bring their friends, their family members, and their associates, also to bring their enemies to come and buy from her as well. So all of that is what we explored in previous episodes. So if this is your first time listening to the podcast, there's a lot that you have to catch up on. After listening this episode, just go and count 1 week, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Start listening from there, get caught up to speed. So, that's it. That's what we're going to be looking at today. Now, if you'd love to connect, the phone number is 080-6466-2140. The country code is +234 for those of you who are not Nigerian. And yes, that is my WhatsApp number as well. You guys can reach me there. Then also connect with me on socials. I'm on LinkedIn as Tavishima Ayede. I'm also on YouTube as well. So, equity as a source of business financing. I've given you guys the context, especially those of you who are brand new to the show. And this is the one I promised you guys that I would get into. Now, the backstory is this. Wonder Woman, because, I've been talking to you guys since last year about why it's not a good idea to get into business with your boyfriend and blah, blah, blah. That's if you're a young lady. And I said I'll make a podcast about that in the future. So this is going to be one of those podcast episodes where I'm going to touch on this whole issue of, you being in business with your boyfriend, your toaster, your maybe wannabe, coulda, shoulda, woulda, someone is liking me, I'm liking them, my friends think he's cute, I think he's hot, blah, 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 all of those things. So today is going to be that episode where I delve small into it. I might do a fuller episode later. Now, the reason why this thing is coming up is because, remember, we're talking about equity financing. Equity just means somebody is giving you money and they want to share in your business. Summary, that's what equity means. Now, in this case, there is a willing financier in Wonder Woman's story. A financier is just somebody who's going to drop money for you. And I asked her a couple of questions and she said they're just friends. And on her own part, yeah, I understand that they're just friends. But I'm also not convinced because, let's be real, I'm a young man. In fact, when people will even say I'm a holy man, and even amongst, well, first of all, I don't think I'm holy, but I'm just saying that if you are to take Nigerian guys, you line us all up together and you look at angels on one end and demons on the other end. Let's say angels are a 10 and demons are a -1. Most people, I think, would put me around maybe 4 or 5. So I'm not that bad. So even among ordinary guys like me who have sense, we don't have diabolical motives. I know that people don't just drop money for your business because of Jesus and God and the good of mankind, or just because of purely altruistic motives. So that's one of the reasons why I'm just not convinced. Maybe some of you might say I'm being overtly cynical, maybe. But the thing is, financing a restaurant in Makudi is not going to be cheap. In fact, financing a restaurant in any part of the country is not going to be cheap. I'm currently looking for a house right now in Abuja. Agents want to kill me in this place. Everybody is talking about 20% agency fee. As in 20% agency, as in, like, for what? Like, what are you guys doing? The place is crappy. You're not going to do anything. And, you want me to provide. The only thing they're not asking me for is my birth certificate and my marriage certificate. They want to know everything else. And then any small shack in the corner, because it's close to the city center, everybody's calling 4 million, 6 million, 10 million, just million. As in, for what? You guys don't even clean these places and maintain them well. Then, so rent is crazy in Abuja. So I can imagine that rent is crazy in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, in wherever. Okay, when I lived in Kano, rent there was actually sweet. Cost of living in Kano, I think, is not bad. But my wife said over her dead body, we're not doing Kano. We had that conversation early in our marriage. Because Kano is not a bad place to stay. I know some of you might disagree, but anyway, my wife said over her dead body, and I don't want her to die anytime soon. So yeah, we're not in Kano, we're in Abuja. So in Makudi now, you want to do restaurant business. Even if it's one small space in Makudi in the city center, rent, they'll be calling like 1M for you, 1 million, 1.5. Okay, then there's staffing costs, no problem. Then there's utility, because you have to pay NEPA bill, you have to pay water, and all of that. Maybe even buy generator, because light in Makudi is crap. I mean, NEPA in Makudi is anyhow. If you live in Lagos and Abuja, you won't understand what it is you're enjoying until you go to other parts of the country and see how badly that people suffer. Because like when I was in Kano, I was in city center in Kano. I was off Hadeja Road. That's where I lived, on Hadeja Road. I was squatting with one guy like that, Didier, a Cameroonian. Nicest guy I've ever met. Just took me in, total stranger. So me and Didier's place was on Hadeja Road. But the place where I was supposed to serve in Kano was in Rano local government. And then all those local governments that are there was Rano local government, I think Bunkure and all those other places. I mean, you won't believe that in Rano, while I was there, I don't know if things have changed, but while I was in Rano local government, I think I only saw NEPA like 4 times. I'm not lying. So every single business person in Rano local government, it was standard that you have your generator and you run your generator every single day. That was just standard. So cyber cafe, or the person that sells fish, or the person that does, it doesn't matter what your business was. You just had to buy generator. So generator was your main source of light. Then NEPA was now the backup, if you can put it like that. Anyway, so in Makudi, yes, you have to budget for generator. Then, of course, there's also going to be local government taxes, because in Makudi, it's also the same thing as in Lagos and like in Abuja. You want to start up your business, there's going to be food, there's going to be alcohol. You have to pay for alcohol license, you have to pay for health inspection, you have to pay for this, you have to pay for that. Then there's also state taxes. So, Wonder Woman, yeah, you said that you guys are just friends, and yeah, I'm convinced. But to be honest, I'm a guy. So, is this guy going to just drop 1.5 on rent, money for staffing, buy generator, fuel for generator, what else? Water and light, local government taxes, everything, renovating the building. I don't know how much it's going to add up to. Let's just say that rent is 1.5. Everything else, let's just say is 1.5 too. So let's just say it's 3 million. So you really think that this guy is just going to drop 3M just like that? Anyway, forgive me if I'm being cynical. But today, we're now going to explore the conversations that Wonder Woman should be having with this potential financier. yeah, anyway, we're going to explore conversation that Wonder Woman should be having with this potential financier, this guy who might be dropping like 3M. This is me just guessing, by the way. I don't know how much it is that she needs to get the business up and going. And we're going to look at how sales skills can help with equity investors. And that's the reason why I said that even those of you who are married, you're off the market, or maybe you're in a situationship or, friendship with benefits, whatever it is. That's the reason why I said today you guys should still listen, because there's a lot that we can learn from. Because in trying to figure out this problem of whether Wonder Woman should be collecting money from this guy, we have to run through a couple of things that everybody else also has to consider if we should be collecting money from someone. So the same thing that Wonder Woman has to look at before she collects money from this guy is the same thing that I have to look at before I collect money from my rich uncle or from any other person who wants to finance my business. So, let's see. Okay, before we continue, shout outs. Today's shout out goes to Israel, not the country, Israel, the person. And he owns Icon Homes and Properties. He's a podcast listener, listens on Spotify, reached out to me on WhatsApp, and he said thanks for the tips. That for him, the tips are very useful, because when he started off his career in real estate, and yes, this podcast has been around for a while. I think it's maybe about 5 years. I have to go and check. I can't remember. I'm not sure. At least 4 years anyway, but we have over 1,020 episodes so far. So yes, there are some people who've been listening to this podcast since the inception of their businesses. So it's giving him tips on how to meet with clients and how to treat clients, how to handle clients. And so thank you very much, Israel, for listening to the show. Please also share the show in general or podcast episodes that you have found inspiring with other listeners so that they can get some goodness as well. So now let's get on to equity financing as a source of business, and let's answer the central question. Wonder Woman, should she be collecting money from this guy who is in her class? I say, are you guys dating? She laughed. She said they're just friends. In fact, the laughter is the one that even made me not to believe the whole thing in the beginning. Because it wasn't as if she said, God forbid, I will never date somebody like that. We're just friends. It was laughter. We're just friends. I said, okay, no problem. All right. Now, first of all, we have to define what is equity. Like I said, equity just means somebody's giving you money and the person says, look, I'm giving you this 500K and I want a share in your business. I want a share in your profits. Equity is a business marriage. Equity just means till death do us part. That as I've given you this 500K, you and me, we are in business partnership until the day that we wind up this business or this business dies. So long as this business exists, it's you and me. We are in it together. We wear the same trouser. We wear the same skirt. So equity, that is what equity means. Of course, if you want to look at the technical legal definition or business definition, it will be much more fancy. But I'm just trying to say that in actual effect, this is what equity means. Equity is a long-term marriage. If somebody drops money as an equity partner, the person is now your business husband. The person is now your business wife. You can't run away from it. So, Wonder Woman and other young ladies listening to this podcast, are you ready for a business marriage? Especially when entanglement starts to show up. He's liking me, maybe he's not liking me. We liked each other and everything was cool, but now he's liking another girl. Or we were liking each other, but now I'm liking somebody else, and blah, 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 blah. All these things that come up, So, think about it, though. Are you ready for a business marriage? Because for all intents and purposes, equity equals business marriage. Because the person has dropped money, and the person now owns a share in your business. Of course, you guys are going to, you guys are going to have those agreements, how much money are you dropping? What's the share of the business? And all those sorts of things. So, the things now to consider if you are in. Hamatan is still here, so he's destroying my voice. So, the things that we have to still consider now if you're in Wonder Woman's position. And remember, I said it's the same for everybody else. So like me, for instance, if there's one of my rich uncles in the village, maybe he's a billionaire and I need maybe 20M to move my business forward and I'm talking to him, it's still the same thing. The same conversation that Wonder Woman needs to be having with this her classmate who wants to drop money is the same conversation that I need to be having with my rich uncle or maybe with Dangote. If Dangote decides that he wants to finance one of my business ideas. But Dangote, if you're listening, shout out. I give my phone number at the end of every episode. Holla at your boy. It'd be nice for us to meet, talk one or two things. Bless your brother's life. Where were we? So things to consider. So equity now, like I said, equity, the person is dropping money, the person owns a part of your business. You can't tell the person the F off at any point, just so you know. And these are some of the complications. And if you listen to podcasts or you read books about startups in America and stuff like that, these are some of the things that come up. Like some people say that the reason why this guy who started what's his name, Uber, Travis, is it Travis? I'll be Travis something. The guy who started Uber. So some people say that that's how he got screwed out of his company. That he started this company, he needed money, he took equity, he agreed to some terms. When things were getting kind of rough, and then people were saying that Travis was abusive. I can't remember what kind of abuse, whether it's, psychological abuse or sexual abuse. I can't remember, but, there was talk about abusive work culture in the business and stuff like that. And that's how he lost control of the business. That's how they voted him out, and then they brought somebody else in. Because of terms that he signed early on when he was looking for equity. You collect equity money, the person becomes a part owner. You cannot tell the person F off. In fact, depending on what you signed, it might be the person that will even tell you F off, get out of here, useless boy. So be careful. So that's one thing to consider, part ownership. Another thing to consider is this. Please, my Nigerian brothers and sisters listening to this, especially for those of you who consider yourselves to be artists, please listen very, very, very well. People who drop money for equity typically are looking for very high returns. If you go and collect money from momsy, popsy, uncle, classmates, whatever, and you say, I beg, lend me 500k, I can pay you back next year 600k. That one is different. Equity investors, when they drop money, they're not looking for small change like that. They're not looking for, I drop 500, you give me 600k back. That's not what they're looking for. They are looking for big returns. So when somebody says that he wants to drop money in your business and own a share of the business, this person wants to cash out on a big level. The good news is the person thinks that your business idea is solid and there's lots of money to be made. So that's the good news. The thing is, you now have to think, are you sure you can match the level of returns that people are looking for? Now, the reason why I say, like Wonder Woman, catering, I started off as a wedding photographer, you're an artist, you're whatever. Are these the kind of businesses that are even good to be collecting equity in the first place? Restaurant business, photography business, art business, shawarma business. Is it the kind of thing you should be collecting equity money? Because people are looking for good, big money. And in fact, early on, before I even started my career as a consultant, back when I was still a wedding photographer, there was one of my guys in Abuja that some people approached him, young man, you're sharp, blah, 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 we're from the same place, we believe in you, this, that, this is how much we drop, we can make this thing blow, equity partnership, this and this and that and that. And the guy came and met me, what do you think? And I told him that, guy, with the amount of money that these people are dropping, and especially since they're looking at being equity investors, these guys are going to want something back in return. And the way I'm reading these guys, they're going to want their money back quick. Not even like 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Like by next year, they're going to start harassing you. But anyway, I think his own opinion at the time was what is business without risk, that kind of thing. So he went ahead, equity, no problem. Collected money, went to go and rent a solid apartment. Decked it out with photography equipment, got himself marketing staff, as in everything was tight, branding on point. I won't lie, even myself, I was jealous. I was like, okay, maybe I should have collected this money. And it looked like things were going okay for a while, until what I said started to happen. Things are not growing fast enough, business is not making enough returns. I know these are some of the conversations that I was having with this friend of mine. Photography business is not the kind of business that, you invest 3 million today in January, and then, by December, that 3 million is now worth 12 million or something. It's not like that. It's small. But the thing is, when people hear photography, they just hear that, you covered a wedding, 500k. And in their mind, they're thinking, wow, okay, 500k. If I'm doing 2 people a month, that is 1M. Over the course of a year, that is 12M. This and this, that and that. So that's just simple math that people do in their head. But unfortunately, it's not that simple. So of course, there was quarrel. And of course, there was problem. Now, this my guy is a very decent fellow, and he doesn't like any kind of biggie, and he likes to be an honorable fellow. So he made sure that everybody was good. He liquidated everything. He made sure that everybody got their money back, even to the extent of selling his own personal camera, his own personal gear, his own personal everything. He sold everything just so that everybody would get back their money. Then my guy now became morose. He went into some kind of depression, and next thing he faded back to Lagos to go and be with his folks. And in the photography community in Abuja, we haven't seen him since. Of course, he's now off to a new career in Lagos, and he's doing okay. But I can imagine. I know some of you will say, like, oh, how much is it? See, but the thing is, for young men, I'm still young, so you can imagine that even then we were younger. So for a young man, you're just starting off life. If you have basically of like 5-7 million over your head, it actually feels very, very heavy. I know for someone like Dangote, 5 million is nothing. Like, why are you harassing me? I'll pay you back. It's not only 5M. But even now, 5 million basic, for me, actually is something. So yeah, it was a big deal, and that's how that whole thing ended. So just to let you know, Wonder Woman, or anybody in Wonder Woman situation, anybody who is dropping money on equity, the person is thinking, man, there are big returns here. I'm going to cash out. You guys need to have those conversations, and you guys need to have the right level of expectations. Now, since this is part ownership and you can't tell them to F off, in fact, if you don't read the contract properly, they're the ones that can even tell you to F off and get out. You should have those conversations about control. Who is controlling what and how. Of course, they might have a level of control depending on the percentage that they drop in the business, but you guys need to have that conversation. You guys also need to have conversations about the guy's expertise, because sometimes when people drop equities, because they have expertise that can help move the business forward. So, is it just money they're dropping, or they're going to do mentorship and business connections and all those kinds of things. And in fact, that's the business model that I'm going to do in a couple of years. When I'm standing well, when my legs are solid, this is actually the sort of thing that I want to get involved in, private equity, the equity model, because I have sales skills. And I know that for some people, all we have to do is tweak the sales process here, tweak the sales process there, tidy this thing up here, tidy this thing up here, and we can build a convincing business out of this thing. So for me, it will not just be dropping money, but also dropping my expertise so that we can grow the value of this company together. So yes, I'm going to be involved in equity later on, when I grow up and I become a big boy. So how are we going to use sales skills now? As Wonder Woman, or as anybody who is looking for, equity financing, how are sales skills going to help you now in securing equity financing? Luckily, if you've been listening to the show for the last maybe 2-3 weeks, remember that we read a book called How to Sell Like a Spy. Lessons in something espionage. I can't remember. The author is Jeremy Horowitz. So just Google Jeremy. Jeremy is Jeremy. I'm spelling it just in case there's a thief person listening and you think, I said Zeremo. It's not Zeremo, it's Jeremy. Because, anyway, that's a thief joke. You won't get it. So, Jeremy Horowitz. Horowitz is, how is it now? Hurewitz, I think. So we'll just put out there and put sell like a spy, the thing will come up. So we're talking about the book and how the author was talking about elicitation as a means of getting information from people. Elicitation just meaning getting people to talk calmly, getting people to talk freely, get people to talk relaxed, so you get to know what's on the person's mind. It's important to know that as a spy, so that will determine your course of action. You need to know that as a diplomat, so you know how you will advise your presido when you go back to your country. And as a business person, you need this skill so that you know how to plot your next motion. Now, okay, this guy is thinking like this guy is thinking like that, so maybe I should move like this, maybe I should move like that. So that is elicitation. So these are the sales skills that you need when it comes to helping out with equity financing. So Jeremy Horowitz, he calls it elicitation. On this podcast, I use traditional term, which is discovery and qualification, where you ask questions and you engage in conversations around the person Who is this person? Who is this person? What are they about? Blah blah blah, and then about the opportunity. What is the problem that they're trying to solve here? And all these sorts of things. So the traditional sales term is discovery and qualification. There are some other people, business writers, who call this phase investigation. When you're talking to people, you're trying to size each other up, you're trying to figure out what's going on. Some people call this investigation. Other people just call it business conversation. But whether we call it elicitation, or business conversation, or investigation, or discovery and qualification, we're all talking about the same thing. And sales skills come in handy there. So, the conversation point that Wonder Woman needs to be having with this guy who's a classmate who might be dropping money for the restaurant, and also if you are trying to raise money to fund a restaurant, talking to your rich uncle or your rich auntie, conversation you need to be having are, you need to find out their investment preferences. You need to figure out the industry they're coming from, or the industries that they like, what stage of businesses they like to invest in, what size, all these kinds of things. And in hindsight, that's how I knew my friend was in trouble. Because these people that are dropping money, they were coming from a different industry and used to dealing with businesses at a different size. But photography is different. It's smaller. The money sounds big, yes. 300, 500 per client. The money sounds big. But different industry, different stage, different size. That's the beginning of me knowing that, okay, look, the expectations are just off. Because these guys, yes, they have the money, but they're coming from a high level. They're used to playing at a certain stage. They don't know that photography business is a small stage. So, Wonder Woman, you should be having conversations with your classmate. Maybe he's used to dropping money for other kinds of businesses and seeing returns, sharp. You guys need to have that conversation so that you know whether it's a good match. Okay, he's used to dropping money for maybe buying and selling cars. Let's say the guy is paid up, and so he drops money for his boys in Lagos to buy cars in Lagos and then ship the cars down to Makudi and Abuja, and then they sell the cars. So if that's what they're used to, you guys need to have the conversation. Okay, is the level of investment the same? Is the level of returns the same? Is the timing of returns the same? You guys need to have that conversation. Then you guys need to have conversations over participation and control. So Wonder Woman, you need to have a conversation with your classmates who's paid up. How much money is he dropping? How much control does he expect? Does he want an office in the complex? Is he going to be coming in every day or just Monday and Friday? Is his own just to be looking at finances, or are you guys going to be having board meeting every 1 or 2 weeks? And by the way, if you're having board meeting, please let the board meeting be nice and official. Go to an office, sit down and have board meeting. Don't go to his flat and have board meeting. And he should not come to your flat and have board meeting, please. Let's keep this professional. So, you need to have those conversations over expectations, participation and control. Then you guys need to have those conversations over documentation and legal, because equity by word of mouth is a capital NEVER, capital NO. Never, no, don't do it. Don't go and collect money from somebody for equity participation and, you will now start saying, but I said, and he said, they said, if you check this email date, if you check this WhatsApp message, you now start adding WhatsApp message, start looking at Instagram, DM. No, don't do it. If this thing is equity, please, we are going to have some kind documentation, no matter how small. If you don't have a lawyer, go and talk to your brother, or your cousin, or your sister who just finished law school like 2 years back. It's not ideal, but at least it is something. Ideally, you should go and have a lawyer, but it's better than just you doing things by word of mouth. So this is a capital NO if it is equity. If you're going to go and talk to Popsy and Momsy, and Popsy says, no problem, I give you 500k, next year give me back 600, that's a different thing. It's Popsy, your family. You know each other, it's a simple thing. It won't get too complicated. The only thing is just that, Popsy might be angry if he gave you the money in January, and then January 26, 2026 comes around, you don't say anything, and it's March and you didn't say anything, then now he'll start getting angry. But it's simpler. Then you also need to have this conversation, Wonder Woman, with your classmate who is paid up, about the investor, what his role is as an investor. Is it only money that you're dropping? Okay. Are you dropping money and with some mentorship? Because the guy has been involved in some businesses before. I don't want to say what the businesses are on air. Well, she doesn't agree with the business choice. But let's pretend for now, that it's buying and importing cars and then selling in Lagos and Abuja. So, is it mentorship? What kind of mentorship can he bring to the game with his years of experience in buying and selling cars? Or, does he have a network access that he can bring to the business so that this business will blow, so that this business will grow? We need to have that conversation around investor roles. Now, if you like watching business TV, this one reason why watching Dragon's Den is a good idea, because you see things like this playing out live and direct on the screen. Because the dragons are not just dropping money. Some of them have connects. Some of them have industry hookups. Some of them have different sales channels, to help me move the business forward. So when you're trying to consider equity investment from people, it's not always just how much are they dropping. Sometimes you might be looking at two people. One person is saying I will drop 1M. Another person is saying I will drop 2M. Sometimes the person who is saying I will drop 1M, but I have access to these connections to that. Sometimes that 1M might be better than connecting to 2M, where the person says, no, I'm giving you money only. Figure it out by yourself. So Wonder Woman, be having conversations with your classmate on his role as an investor. Then, of course, Wonder Woman, you guys to be doing some background checks on your own. Do some information gathering. Talk to people. Who knows this guy? Who has done business with him? Remember that book, Sell Like a Spy? The conversation techniques that this guy was talking about, information gathering. It's also sales as well, because you need to figure out what has his experience been with other founders. It might look like a sweet deal, but then if you discover that he has done this business with 6 other chicks before and he quarreled with 5 of them, maybe that's a red flag. Maybe it's not even chicks. Maybe he has financed other people's business before. He has dropped money for 8 businesses and he ended up quarreling with 12 people. That one is definitely a red flag. In fact, he even quarreled with more than the people that he financed. So, but you need to be asking people. You need to know who this guy is. What's his background? Where is he coming from? Where's the money coming from? Is it legit, not legit? How does he decide where to drop money? The people that he has dropped money before, invested money with before, how did they pan out? What level of benefit did he bring to those people? Stuff like that. So all these soft conversations, all of this is sales skills as well. And also covered in the book that we did, which was Sell Like a Spy by Jeremy Hurwitz. So now, how do you have these conversations? Because I'm sure some of you realize that, okay, yeah, you've given us some good pointers, things to talk about. And please remember, this is not just for Wonder Woman. Like I said, you want to raise money from your rich uncle or your rich auntie, or you want your pastor to be an equity investor, it's the same thing. These are the conversations you should be having with pastor as well. Then, how to have these conversations? The conversations have to be open-ended. That means you should be asking questions that, to answer the question, the person has to give you a story. If you just ask questions that can be answered with yes or no, then that is a terrible idea. That's a bad idea. So you need to ask open-ended questions. Who, why, what, where, when, how. And that is going to give you all the information that you need. So, like, let me see. Let me look at, what did I say? Okay, investor role. Now, capital only. So, instead of just asking him, so bro, you want to be invested in the business, is it just dropping capital only? He can say yes or he can say no. I mean, that is not good. If he says yes, that's too flat. If he says no, you can ask follow-up questions. But you can now say, okay, so who, why, what, where, when, how. What is your typical level of involvement with the businesses that you invest in? Let's go with that for now. What is your typical level of involvement for the businesses that you are involved in? When you're asking these questions, you don't have to sound formal like me. I'm on the formal end, but you can be on the casual end. It's not a problem. It's not really who you are or how you sound. It's the kind of information that you elicit. So asking that kind of question now, that what is your typical kind of involvement? The person has to tell me a story. Now, well, usually in the past, this is how I used to be investing my money and blah, blah, blah. But with you, I like your mind, I like your heart. God has shown me that you're a nice person, blah, blah, blah. So between you and I, to be like this, would be like that, blah, 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 blah. So the person has to tell you a story to answer the conversation. So that's what we mean when we say the conversation should be open-ended. Just start off the conversations with who, why, what, where, how, when. So those sorts of things. Basic stuff that they taught us in primary school in Nigeria. There are other ways of keeping conversations open-ended, but let's just leave it like this for now. Then it should be question-led. That means you should be asking a whole bunch of questions. So Wonder Woman, when you're having this conversation with a fine boy financier, you should be asking him questions, right? please keep these questions in a nice business setting. If you're having this conversation, you go to his room, you guys are chilling, there's nice music in the background, he brings out some drinks, and you guys are having this conversation, it's not pure. Also, if he comes to your flat, you cook some fine food and everything, there's music, there's drinks, there's Netflix, you ain't gonna cut it. After lectures, stay behind in the class, tell your friends you see them later, sit down in the class and have these conversations. Or have a proper business date, go to a co-working space. Avon Incubation Hub there in Makudi, they have a co-working space. So their co-working space is in Makudi. Go to a co-working space. It's not expensive. Pay 2.5 for an hour or something, and then sit down there. You guys have this conversation. So the conversation should be open-ended. The conversation should be question-led. You should be asking a lot of the questions. And then you also need to structure the conversations and stagger them one theme at a time, one conversation at a time, because all of this is plenty. All of this story that I'm telling you now, you can't ask this thing in one conversation. You miss lots of stuff. So it's best to fix some time and sit down today, and in your own head, you know that, okay, what you're trying to figure out now is his investment preferences. And then you guys have that conversation. Be surprised that alone, his background, his preferences, what he's looking for, expectations. You might be surprised that kind of conversation might take like 1 hour. After 1 hour, you guys are tired. It's okay, no problem. You've said lots of stuff. I'll need to think about it. I still have a few more questions regarding other things like participation and control, blah, 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 this and this and that and that. But it's okay if we do that at another time, So you fix the meeting for the next date, but stagger these conversations out, because you can't have this conversation and finish everything in one day. So structure it, stagger it, one theme at a time. You can't finish this in one day. And if you look at all the big boys and girls that you like, Zuckerberg them and all the people in America, you don't finish these conversations in one day. Phone call today, meeting tomorrow, investor pitch next tomorrow. You send over term sheet, look at term sheet, another meeting, clarify this, clarify that. It takes a while. It's not just one sitting. So, that's just it. So, of course, you've been listening to this show for any length of time. You know my point of view on this. That you're a young girl, he's a young boy. It's not as if you're ugly. Him too, it's not as if he looks like a lizard. Anything can happen. So in my own opinion, don't do business with this guy. My own opinion. Not knowing more. Some of you might differ, but that's just my own opinion. If he's a potential toaster, a potential liker, maybe I'm liking him. My friend thinks he's cute. His friends say I'm cute. He's whatever. For me, capital N-O. Except if you guys have had very clear business conversations, especially when this level of business involvement is going to be at the level of equity. Because when it comes to equity, it's a long-term marriage. So let's just keep it safe. Because you enter into this long-term business marriage and then entanglements start to happen. It's unnecessary emotional, business is hard enough. We don't need the emotional angst and how would I even say this in itself? The turbulence, look, it's tough enough. I'm sure you guys understand what it is I'm trying to say. Especially for those of you who are trying to start up these things in school. You're chasing your GPA. Your GPA is probably not doing too good. You're worried about your work with God. You're trying to do this business, and then, next thing, entanglement is now entering the issue, and I beg, the stress is just much. So it's easier to have these sorts of conversations with the husband, in my own opinion. But even then again, there are people who will tell you that, yes, even when the person is your husband, these conversations will still be hard enough. But that's my point exactly. So, left to me, Wonder Woman, you said that you guys are just friends, and I believe you, but you said it with a smile, and so I'm just saying these things to you in code, just in case there's something I have not heard, or just in case there's something that Financier Boy has not said. These are my fuller opinions on the matter. And so for those of you who are happily married or no entanglements, no relationship status, no whatever, it's still the same thing. You are looking for an equity financier. These are the kinds of conversations that you should be having with them, because it's going to be a long-term marriage and you can't tell them the F off. And if you end up like our boy, what's his name again? I think his name is Travis, but I'm not sure. Yeah, you can check later. Oh, shout out to AKTS. He fact checked me on something when I was talking about Koren. He said Koren is the Council of Registered Engineers in Nigeria. So thank you very much, Koren, for thank you very much, AKTS, for pointing that out. So, like I say on the podcast, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. So whenever I make mistakes, you guys can point that out. Just send me a message and let me say it over here on the group so that we can all be educated together. So what was I saying now? I lost my train of thought. Okay. And maybe it wasn't important. So, yeah, that's it. So if you'd love to connect with me, the phone number is 080-6466-2140. Country code is +234 for those of you who are not Nigerian. That's my WhatsApp number as well. And then connect with me on socials. The name to look for is Tavishima Ayede on LinkedIn, and I'm Tavishima Ayede on YouTube as well. Unfortunately, I can't find the list where I wrote down all these financing options. So I'm running off of memory here. Now that we have done equity, I think the next thing on the list should be loan. I think it should be loan. Please, any listener of the show, you've been taking notes, and if you remember the master plan, what the master plan is supposed to be, just send me a message. My contact details are here so that we can get back on track, because I'm not sure what happened. Maybe my little son, tore it up or something. So next will be loan, so that we can see how Wonder Woman can use sales skills to cure the financing problem if she was going to take a loan. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.